Some Valley men are trying to find love and getting more than a wife. They're getting in trouble with the law.
She's real pretty. Oh, yeah, definitely. Blonde hair, blue eyes.
We expose a woman some say is behind a Russian bride scheme targeting Valley men looking for a wife. Young foreign women looking for love.
But these brides end up turning the tables on their unsuspecting grooms, robbing them of their wealth, livelihood, and their freedom. Investigative reporter Tammy Leitner has more on this story. Tammy?
In every single one of these cases, the women were from Russia or the Ukraine. They were 10, even 20 years younger than their husband and very eager to come here and get married.
She's a cutie, you know. We had some fun. We had a lot of fun.
Reed Simon met Anna while vacationing in Russia in 2001.
She's 18 years my junior, and she's very beautiful.
A short courtship followed. He brought her to Scottsdale, and they were married within months. Soon after, they had a son. But the wedded bliss came crashing down one day when police showed up at the Simon house. Anna claimed Reed had locked her in their home, sexually abused her, and threatened to kill her.
Did you ever abuse your wife?
No.
Did you ever sexually abuse your wife?
No.
It took Reed 18 months and thousands of dollars in legal fees before the charges were dismissed.
I've since met at least a half dozen other men who've had the same exact thing that happened to me happen to them.
Like this Valley man, who asked we not identify him.
She's real pretty. Oh, yeah, definitely. Blonde hair, blue eyes.
He met the 22-year-old Ukrainian on an internet dating site, much like this one.
So, yeah, I guess I was smitten. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
He brought Valentina here to Arizona, and within 3 months, they were married. But less than a year later...
Because I woke up one morning to a phone call from a police officer. Went outside, then there was about 5 or 6 guns drawn on me. So they had me get down on my knees, put my hands behind my back, and they put me in a police car.
Valentina told police he tried to kill her with a metal pipe. But once again, after an 18-month court battle, a judge dismissed the charges.
To be prosecuted for a lie is something you didn't do, and then to be staring at 7.5 years, you know, it consumed all my thoughts.
And then there was the Scottsdale man we tracked down through court records who refused to appear on camera. 2 days after his Russian bride received her green card, she told police her husband abused her. But a judge ruled the Russian woman committed marriage fraud and ordered her to return thousands of dollars in possessions.
It is clear to me that the immigration law is being manipulated.
Immigration attorney Nicomedes Suriel sees a loophole in the Violence Against Women Act. As an expert in immigration cases, he sees some foreign women manipulating the system by claiming domestic violence in order to gain U.S. citizenship.
In my experience, there usually is someone that sort of says, here's what you have to do, here's what you have to say, here's what you do when you call the police, here are the kinds of things. So unfortunately, that's what I call gaming the system.
And each of these men in these 3 cases pointed to one woman, Olga Chaikheeva. Olga runs the Shield Foundation, a domestic violence shelter for foreign women. Her website portrays her as a prominent member of the Russian-American community and even shows her being honored by Sheriff Joe Arpaio in 2005 for volunteer efforts. But some question her motivation.
The same day that I was arrested, Valentina and Olga, they took my passport, my jewelry, the computer, so they, you know, drained my accounts.
Olga convinced my wife that you have a baby, and the only way you're ever going to see that baby again is if you make accusations against your husband of domestic abuse. She said the American system is stupid.
We talked to Reed's wife, Anna, who's now in Russia. She told us Olga tried to control her and then backed up what we read in her letter to the Scottsdale prosecutor. She says Olga went to great lengths to rehearse me on what to say and how to pretend tears in front of the judge and to convince me I could benefit greatly by doing this. She added, as I have found out since, she follows the same procedure with all of her clients. Almost all are too afraid to testify against her. We repeatedly offered Olga the opportunity to tell her side of the story. She turned us down on the phone, but in an email she told us, Shield Foundation staff and volunteers are always mindful in regards to their personal safety. which may be jeopardized by a breach of confidentiality of information. But we had more questions, so we went to the SHIELD office to talk with her. We went to her home. We tried her business partner's home. But Olga never answered. And her silence leaves these men wondering why they went looking for love, only to be accused of abuse.
I don't think much of her. I think she's a liar. I know she's a liar.
This needs to come to an end because a lot of people's lives have been ruined and they're going through a lot of pain and suffering.
Now, Olga Chaikheeva has not been charged with a crime in connection with her work with the SHIELD Foundation, and the foundation is not under a criminal investigation.
And Tammy, what can you tell us about the woman at the center of all of this?
Well, the more we learn about Olga, the more fascinating this story becomes. Tomorrow night at 10 p.m., you'll see how she navigates the modern American legal system with some old-world intimidation.
Looking forward to that. Thanks, Tammy. We are following a developing story right now. Jealousy may have led to a
Marrying American men, then claiming abuse in order to get citizenship. Investigative reporter Tammy Leitner exposed that problem last night. Tonight, a closer look at the one woman who could be at the center of it all.
Russia is full of a lot of very young, beautiful women.
The girls on these websites are just real pretty. They're young and they're educated.
Both of these Valley men assumed their young Eastern Bloc wives married them for love. But shortly into the relationship, the women accused their husbands of domestic violence, an accusation that, if true, would guarantee them U.S. citizenship.
So my wife got the order making false accusations.
Both spent more than a year defending themselves until their charges were dismissed. And both say their wives were coached to lie by this woman, Olga Chaikheeva. Olga runs the SHIELD Foundation, a domestic violence shelter with a questionable beginning.
Have you ever heard of the SHIELD Foundation?
No.
Catherine Walling served on the board of the Alan Frost Family Organization, a foundation set up to trace her family's genealogy and fund missionary trips. The nonprofit went defunct during the 1980s, but in 2002, the organization was taken over. And what did it become? The SHIELD Foundation, complete with the nonprofit status.
As one of the last remaining board members, would you have been aware if another foundation was taking over your family foundation?
Yes, I would have known about it.
We called Olga and emailed her to get her side of things. When she refused to answer our questions directly, we went looking for her all over town. Still no answers. But she did have plenty to say back in 2006 when she contacted our TV station.
He just tried to kill me.
Olga's husband served 7 years in prison for domestic violence. And when his release neared, she wanted him deported back to Russia.
He spit in my face, and he promised me in Russian language that he will kill me.
One thing sources say Olga knows is how to use the media and the court system. Process server John Tavernero has served her with lawsuits and court papers more than a dozen times since 2003. And she's turned the tables on him.
So you don't even know Olga, yet she's taken out 2 orders of harassment against you.
She was trying to stop me, I feel, from being able to serve her in the future.
We discovered Olga has taken out orders of harassment in courts across the valley.
I sat in court listening to her tell one judge that she wasn't too familiar with the court system, but at that time she had probably filed somewhere around 15 to 20 different lawsuits in different courts.
Among the people she's taken to court, school teacher Yefim Toybin. He met Olga through a nonprofit he started to help Russian immigrants like himself. But when he stopped working with her, he was threatened.
I'll regret for the rest of my life, like for breaking the relations, and I will remember them. So, and I thought, you know what, I heard these kind of threats back in the former Soviet Union.
Yefim investigated Olga and the SHIELD Foundation on his own and published his findings in his Russian newsletter. She had him arrested for allegedly breaking into the SHIELD Foundation office, but he was never charged. And she served him with multiple orders of harassment.
It's pretty common to use our judicial system and law enforcement agencies back in former Soviet Union, okay, to solve your personal problem.
A technique that these men say nearly cost them everything.
She's gaming the system and ruining lives.
Once again, we want to point out Olga has not been charged with a crime in regard to the Shield Foundation. And at this time, there's no legislation in place to tighten or change the Violence Against Women Act.
Now, if these Russian women were married, don't they have citizenship that way? Why would they go to the trouble of going through the domestic violence thing?
Well, the way it works is they come over here on a fiancé visa, and essentially they have to get married within 90 days. But then they have to stay married for 2 years, and a lot of these women just aren't willing to wait.
And so with that domestic violence thing, that it ends the problem, and then they're a citizen.
Essentially, when they claim abuse, that's how they can then get citizenship.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.